Good morning, intro to the New Testament. I'm saying good morning. I know it's afternoon for some of you because I'm filming this very early in the morning, the week before I leave for Chicago. This is the way in which we're going to do class this week. And I know this is new for some of you, but trust me, I'm not going to make this hard. I'm going to try to be as explicit as I can so everybody can be as successful as they can be and that we can have a really great class this week. I can't wait to see you when I get back. This week we're going to talk about what affects the way we read. How does who we are affect the way we read the Bible? Now, some years ago, Norman Gottwald, a theologian from New York Theological Seminary, created an inventory of characteristics that affected the way that people read the Bible. In fact, his students used to take that inventory every year coming into New York Theological Seminary, the whole school. Some of those impacts were the denominational history of the student, the confessions and the creeds that the students believed in, their ethnicity, their gender, their education, their politics, how they've been exposed to the Bible. There are so many possible ones. The personal inventory paper that you handed in today on the 31st is your first exposure to thinking about all of the different ways in which your background, your personal history affects the way you read the Bible. Gottwald's point was not that these influences on biblical interpretation are somehow bad or wrong, but rather that they're there, and they're usually unexamined. What happens when we have unexamined factors that affect the way we read? Well, first, unexamined factors or influences lead us to believe that the perspective that we have is the only obvious one and the only true one. Because we haven't thought about the fact that we're reading from particular perspectives, we can really think that we own and hold universal truth. That's not particular to any one group of people. Everybody does it. A second thing about unexamined influences is that they don't allow us to ask about issues of power, who benefits from reading in one way and who benefits from reading in another way. Unexamined influences don't allow us to look at, if we read it this way, how does that empower this person? If we read it that way, how does that empower this person? The third issue is unexamined influences don't allow us to make connections and clear parallels between our world and the world of the New Testament. If we don't see connections and parallels between our world and the world of the New Testament, we don't make them, and so we can read what we think is the case from our unexamined background into the text. So that's why you were doing the personal inventory. You're looking at what things you bring to the reading of the text. In addition, this week's reading does that kind of more broadly for the community. The personal inventory is really an individual exercise. The work for the community is really looking at how people read the Bible across the board. So the long article on disarming gay bashing in the Bible, the Ringy article, the Mitzi Smith article, the Raquel St. Clair article, and the Fernando Segovia article, all of these raise issues about the way we read together corporately as Bible readers in churches, as Bible readers in communities. Long, as I said, deals with the issue of heteronormativity or heterosexism. And heteronormativity or heterosexism is simply the belief that your way of being sexually active is the only way to be sexually active and to be good at the same time. So it's basically saying, if you're heterosexual, this is the way that things have to be. This is the way that things are. And it's okay for me to flaunt my sexuality by, say, wearing a wedding ring, but it's not okay for somebody else who isn't allowed to get married to hold the hand of the one they love. And I'm going to use the Bible and my readings of the Bible to justify that, right? So that's what Long is going to be looking at. Ringy is looking at sexism. What does it mean to read the Bible as if women are whole people? What does it mean to read the Bible as if it's not people and women? Or men, as in mankind, and then women. as if women were somehow not part of mankind. What does it mean to read the Bible to look at the power of women and the role of women and not to ignore them? And that has implications for how we do church. Raquel Sinclair and Mitzi Smith are looking at reading the Bible through some of the experiences of being black. Raquel Sinclair is looking at a womanist read, so she's combining the sorts of questions that Ringi is asking with questions about race and looking at what womanists do, which is to combine that intersection of race, gender, and class. And Mitzi Smith is bringing up the question of slavery and how slavery functions in the Bible. It's critically important for us to think about slavery and not as something different from what happened in the Deep South, because slavery was real and really brutal in the biblical world. Last week in class, we talked about the fact that the life expectancy for peasants was about 40 years. It would have been less for slaves. And slaves were branded and whipped and beaten and chained in chain gangs, and they had all sorts of horrible lives in the ancient world. And then Fernando Segovia, which can feel like it's not exactly connected, is actually doing the same sort of thing. He's asking us to think about, what does it mean to read the ancient world texts as if empire is real? As if these people are not just writing in a vacuum, but they're writing in response to the Roman Empire and to the tyranny of the Roman Emperor. What happens if we read these ancient texts as if when Jesus uses words like kingdom of God, when the gospel writers uses words like Kyrios, which is Lord, and Evangelion, which is gospel, and apostolos, which is apostle, we understand that this is imperial language. This is not religious language. That these words really talk about a king or an emperor and the delegate of a king, and they're particularly governmental words. What happens when we think about the inbreaking of empire in the ancient world? So when you're posting on the forum this week, I've asked you to post 3 times. You may post more, but I'd like you to at least post 3 times. 3. And in one of the posts, you're going to tell us something you learned from doing the personal inventory. In one of the posts, you're going to compare and contrast the kinds of issues raised by the 5 short essays this week, and you got that in the handout. And in the last one, you can just respond to someone else, and feel free to do more than 3, but you must do 3. This week is the last preliminary week of class. We've done a week that kind of looked at what's going on in the greater pagan world. We've done a week that looks at the social and cultural norms that are going on. And this week we're looking at our lenses, how we read. Next week we start addressing the specific books of the New Testament. And for February 7th, you have your first weekly paper. And everybody I know is a little scared about this. It's 3 to 4 pages. It's not very long. And in that paper, and there will be a handout right below this video that you can use, in that paper you're going to focus on one of the 3 books of Paul that are assigned for next week. 1 Thessalonians, Romans, or I think it's 1 Corinthians. And I will assign what you will focus on, so don't worry about that. It'll be in the handout. Just open the handout, save the handout, print the handout, read the handout. You're going to be assigned to look at one of 3 things in your 3 to 4 page paper. One of 3 things. And this will rotate over the course of the semester. So you will not always be looking at the same thing. You will either be assigned to look at social and cultural institutions, which will mean engaging Hansen and Oakman. Or you'll be assigned to look at contemporary issues, which will mean engaging Queer Bible Commentary, True to Our Native Land, Women's Bible Commentary, and the Postcolonial. Or you will be assigned to look at personal location, in which case you will be required to do some reflection from where you are, from those 19 different categories that you used in the personal inventory, but you're going to then use those as you read these ancient texts and talk about where you are coming from in light of that. What are the personal inventory things that are coming up for you? Personal location things that are coming up for you. As I said, these will rotate. So a third of the time you're going to be doing social and cultural institutions. A third of the time you'll be doing contemporary perspectives, and a third of the time you'll be doing personal location. This will give you practice in using all of these three perspectives. And that will also allow us, as you come together in class, to go deeper, because a third of you will be bringing one perspective, a third a second perspective, and a third perspective, and we can go deeper and deeper. Anyway, I look forward to reading your post this week. I look forward to engaging with you in the forum. Don't be surprised to see me popping in and out and interacting with folks and asking further questions and pushing deeper and pushing deeper. That's the way we interact when we're in a threaded discussion, which is what this is called. I also look forward to reading your personal inventories. I can't wait to read what you have written about you and about how you read the Bible. I miss you. I promise to post time to time this week, and I will see you next week when I get back. Take care. Bye.